Hey guys, we're going to look at the romance between Hamlet and Ophelia in one of my favorite plays of all time, of course, the play called Hamlet. So Hamlet is a Danish prince, and at the beginning of the play we find out that his father, a wonderful king, was recently dispatched or murdered while sleeping in his orchard, and it's given out that a snake stung the poisoned the king while he was asleep, but actually we find out from a ghost of the dead king that the snake was his brother who moved in and married his wife. So we've got incest and a lot of greed and power tripping and things like that going on in the story. So then we've got young Hamlet, the prince, and he has a Herculean task beset by his father's ghost of avenging his death. And so had Hamlet been any of the revenge heroes from previous centuries before the 1600s when this was written, he probably just would have, killed him and moved on. But he's not. He's a thinking man, and he's worried about the afterlife. He's like, well, what if it's a demon from hell to trick me and mess me up? Or should I get more proof? Even though he really does kind of know that Claudius did kill old Hamlet. So he does a bit of procrastinating, and he says, well, I might put on an antic disposition, or I might pretend to be crazy. But you got to really watch Hamlet's emotional state because he's under a lot of pressure. So sometimes the things that he's doing are not in anyone's best interest, perhaps. So, but let's look at his lady love. So the king's advisor Polonius has a beautiful daughter named Ophelia. So Ophelia and Hamlet have had a little romance going on. When we find that out at the beginning of the play, when Ophelia is getting advice from her dad and her brother about not being too available for Hamlet. They don't want to have a surprise pregnancy or anything like that. So they encourage her to put a little distance in that relationship. So then we have, when Hamlet starts acting crazy and trying to work towards avenging his father's death, he steps away from Ophelia too, because he had promised his dad to wipe away all trivial fond records. So we're going to look at his love letter that he had sent Ophelia maybe before all the promises to the dead father, and it goes something like this. Doubt that the stars are fire, doubt that the sun doth move, doubt art truth to be a liar, but never doubt I love. And then he goes on to say, oh, Ophelia, I have not art to reckon my groms. I am ill at these numbers. But I do love thee best, I must best believe it, adieu. Thine evermore, most dear lady, while this machine is in him, Hamlet. So I had that a little out of order, but what he's basically saying is, hey girl, you can doubt anything. You can doubt that the stars are made out of fire. You can doubt that the sun actually moves. You can doubt truth to be a liar, but don't ever doubt my love for you, baby. So then he goes on to say, when he says I have not art to reckon my groans, he means I don't have fancy words to really tell you how I feel, but it's real, baby. So that Hamlet over and over always says he's not just what seems, he's what's real. He says he's authentic, but then he does kind of play fake crazy a few times, especially with Ophelia's own father. So thine evermore, most dear lady, while this machine is to him, Hamlet. So he's pretty much promising his lifelong love. And so I guess things would have been looking good then. But then her dad says that she can't see him, and then Hamlet gets obsessed with this revenge story. So things start getting crazy, and then before you know it, he's telling her to go to a nunnery. Why would you be a breeder of sinners? And he goes on to list his own sins and crimes and says, well, there should not be marriage, and women should not have children. And I think she's getting the brunt of a lot of his anger toward his own mother, because if his mother cheated, he thinks that all women are frail. Frailty, thy name is woman. So there's a lot of show and a lot of mess, and poor Ophelia, he yells at her during the play within the play, or he says ugly things to her with a lot of innuendo. I think he's just obsessed with revenge and hyped up about that. So she kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Her dad uses her to get ahead. The king uses her as a decoy almost, and Hamlet's just kind of pushed her to the side. So she pushes herself to the side too, and you'll see that in maybe Act 4. So we might come back to that a little bit later. But thanks for joining in.